Hi guys, have you ever wondered what it's like to play PLAYERUNKNOWNS Battlegrounds in a different part of the world? I'm sure that you heard that it's easier to play on Asian servers, but is it really so? Most of you guys are top 1000 players, and maybe you could be part of the top 10 in another part of the world, who knows? Now you could connect to an Asian server from within the States or from Europe, but playing with a ping of 300 and higher isn't going to show you the true story. So there's only one thing to do. Fly to a different part of the world, bring your gaming laptop and challenge the locals on their very own servers. And that's what I did. The main goal is to find out which part of the world has the most hardcore, ruthless killers on the planet. And we will also search for the server where potato aiming is the name of the game. In other words, the server with the worst players on the planet. Today I am in a part of the world that is a little bit special. It has a privilege to be one of the first places to celebrate New Year, and compared to most of you guys, I'm literally running around upside down. Welcome to Auckland. Nope, not the one in California, but the one in New Zealand. For the uninitiated, it lies to the east of Australia, and you probably know their most famous sports team, the All Blacks. This is where we will start our journey, and as you could have guessed, we will play Battlegrounds on OC servers. I'm sure that you want to see some kind of proof that I'm actually here, so I brought a GoPro with me and I will show you a part of the city. I went for a run and I went all the way up to a dormant volcano called Mount Eden. On your way to the top, you'll find one of the nicest places in Auckland to play sports, right next to the cliffs of this volcano. I can imagine much worse places to play sports. When you get closer to the summit, you might see this guy running downhill backwards. I mean, really? I have no clue what he was doing, but anyway. Once you get to the top, you will get a great view of the city, including Eden Park. This is where the All Blacks play a lot of their games. I went back to the hotel and I fired up PLAYERUNKNOWNS Battlegrounds. To my surprise, they only have one first-person server option, and that is restricted to duos. All the other servers are third-person servers. Not exactly the wide range of options that most of us are used to. I started with playing solo. The initial experience is exactly the same as anywhere else. You land somewhere, you get a few kills, and then you move on. There are always people that go to the school, and almost half the airplane jumps out as soon as it flies over the military base. Same as always. But then I started to notice something. People like to move around a lot. I've never seen so many people driving past or running past during all these months that I played Battlegrounds. If I decided to go to a building, then I always had 1 or 2 visitors within a very short period of time. So these guys are definitely not stationary. They like to travel, which is great because it makes the mid-game a lot more interesting. Most of the time you will have a very interesting beginning and an ending when you play in Europe or in the US. And in the middle there is no man's land, because nothing happens no matter what you do. We've all experienced this over and over again, and we know that a lot of Twitch streamers are complaining about this as well. This is the only server that I played on so far where they actually have a natural solution for this. They're all travelers by nature and it keeps the game interesting. A long time ago they had to travel to get here in the first place, and not so long ago their soldiers even traveled all the way to Europe to help us fight in World War I and II. So you won't easily get bored in the middle of the game. There's always somebody to kill. But there is something weird going on with most of these players. As soon as they hear your footsteps, they will freeze. When they are fired upon and they have some form of cover, then they will freeze as well. Most of the time, they fail to find a solution, and usually they will stay exactly where they are, hoping that the problem will just go away. But we all know that that's not going to happen. In the beginning, I was very surprised to learn that a certain enemy was still hiding in the exact same spot where I first saw or heard him. We all know that it's a bad thing, and most of the time you will be the one who is going to die. As time went by, I saw more and more guys doing the exact same thing. They just freeze on the spot at the first sign of danger. As soon as you realize this, then you're going to take advantage of this, isn't it? This is probably one of their biggest weaknesses. Just to be clear, this is not applicable to every single player out there who plays on these servers. This is just a general observation that is applicable to most of these players. Unfortunately, they have a second weakness. Basically, they are bad finishers. On many occasions I was stuck in the middle of a gunfight with another guy. He was shooting at me, I was shooting at him, and suddenly a third guy opens fire on me. We all know that you're not going to live very long anymore as soon as you hear the first shots landing close to you. That is what I'm used to in Europe or America. That's just the way it is most of the time. But not here. Every single time, and I mean every single time that a third guy came along, I managed to survive. When the third guy opened fire in the middle of a gunfight, and even after I managed to kill the first guy, then I was always able to get the cover and I was able to heal without getting killed by this person. When I was rewatching my recorded footage, then I saw that they only managed to hit me once at most, and all the other bullets hit the terrain around me. They were constantly missing their shots and they weren't even under pressure because nobody was shooting at them. And some of these guys are truly the kings of potato aiming. And this happened over and over again. Something like this will rarely happen in the US or in Europe. You will notice this throughout all of these clips that you see in this video. This became even worse when they were actually under pressure. Most of these players tend to choke when they are fired upon. This also happens when they open fire and the other guy starts shooting back. They will instantly stop shooting, they will run for cover, and if they decide to shoot back, it's almost never on target. Most of the time they shoot in the general direction of the enemy and that's it. Having said that, they do have a great sense of timing and they have an exceptional situational awareness. When they see a guy running from cover to cover, then the ideal moment to start shooting at him would be when this person is right in the middle. These guys are amazing at doing something like that. They have the discipline to wait and they know exactly when to open fire. Not only are they good at knowing when to shoot, they can also cook their grenades to perfection. 14 kills, one other guy remaining, and then he throws the perfect grenade that detonates within 1 second of landing right in between my legs. Very impressive. The only part where they lack timing is when they decide to crouch jump. In most parts of the world you will see people crouch jumping all over the place. Even now, when they can't bind 2 settings to the same key anymore. But this guy had some major issues with pressing 2 buttons at the same time. He had to try at least 8 times before he managed to jump through this window. In the same time frame he could have crawled all the way downstairs, opened the door, closed that same door, and that would save them a lot of time and frustration. It is likely that it was just this guy who was struggling with that, but in all the time that I played here I never saw anybody else crouch jumping. These were all the things that stood out in the solo game mode, and then I started playing duos. Unfortunately for them, these duo servers are the only available first person only servers. The first game that I joined was a third person game because I think this is what most of them are used to. My first buddy was called Sleazy CJ. Unfortunately he didn't offer any support, not even when I was being chased by a guy who had a gun. I believe that this guy was from Asia, with limited knowledge of English, which is fine. I was super happy that I made an effort in the first place. This is his part of the world, not mine. Unfortunately, I had no clue what this guy was saying and we both died soon thereafter. I decided to give up on this game mode and I wanted to try my luck on the first person duo servers, because I'm sure that this is where all the hardcore guys hang out, right? So say hello to Peps. He didn't say much in the very beginning. You know how it goes. You're on your first date and you have no clue what to say. But eventually it was an absolute pleasure to play with this guy. Judging from his accent, I would say he's from Australia, probably somewhere in the east, possibly Brisbane or Sydney. He gave great support. He was clear and concise in giving out information or instructions. Just listen to this.
To me.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
He's in my building now.
Just get to the roof, dude. Make him push the roof, because then I can... When he comes out that door, I waste him. Call it when he gets close. Just don't make any noise.
Yep. Someone is up here. Still hear him on the stairs underneath me. Nick is outside, helping his buddy.
I'm gonna try and nade. I've already got smokes.
Yeah, I got him. Both down. He had a plan in mind. He gave me easy to follow instructions and I knew exactly what I was planning to do. At some point he tells me that he was wasted, and then he casually kills the 2 guys who jumped out of this vehicle. Not bad for being wasted at 4 in the morning. The last thing to do was to play PUBG in a squad. Now usually the nicknames give away a lot. Airlan 1995 is a person who might be able to speak English, but 95601-335A and ZQC100 are typical Asian names for gamers. So I was afraid that this was going to end up badly for me, but it started out okay. I said hello, they said hello, and everybody was fat and happy. Soon after we landed, they figured out that the majority spoke Chinese. In other words, I was the only one who didn't, and that soon became the main language. I had absolutely no clue what was going on, but by saying vehicle here, go yellow marker, they seemed to follow me around to the yellow marker, so there was definitely a great understanding going on over here. I had no clue what they said, but at least he understood what I was trying to say. Somewhere along the line, we decided to take 2 vehicles, and ZQC100 was the one who was going to bring a second vehicle to us. Just at that moment, I spot an enemy walking past. I clearly share this information with the other guys and we all start shooting at him. Except for Ireland 1995, who thinks it's a good idea to shoot me instead, long after the guy was knocked. But mistakes happen, right? And he meant no harm. He finished off the guy and that was that. In the meantime, our designated driver made his way back to us with our backup vehicle. In most countries, you learn to drive at a young age, right? Well, not in China. This dude ran over 2 of his buddies. I mean, really? And this is the moment where everything started to go downhill. Luckily, Airline 1995 figured out the way to use sign language to point things out.
Good.
Just for info, this must have been added in the latest patch.
Thanks a lot.
Anyway, he was kind enough to share his ammo with me, so that was a very nice thing of him. From here on, the only English that I heard was go, go, go. And they said this about 1,000,000 times. You have to understand that a lot of people who live here were originally from Asia. That is why you see so many Chinese looking names. Well, they speak Chinese or Korean and their English is sometimes limited to saying go, go, go. I cannot tell you how many times these guys said go, go, go. I mean, really. Now, I can't complain about that. My accent sounds weird enough, judging by the comments that you guys leave me sometimes, and in all honesty, they are the ones who are living here. From time to time, they did manage to communicate with me, and in the end, we made it to the top 20 using sign language, so not bad for a few guys who don't understand each other very well. To summarize my gaming experience here in New Zealand, on the PLAYERUNKNOWNS Battlegrounds OC servers, I have to say that it was definitely fun and interesting. The only way for these guys to play in first-person servers is to play duos, and that doesn't make it easier for them. The great thing is that people like to move around, and this makes the mid-game so much more enjoyable. They have a great sense of timing and situational awareness when it comes down to knowing when to open fire, and they definitely know how to cook a grenade. Unfortunately, most of these people freeze, and this puts them at a big disadvantage. On top of that, potato aiming is definitely the name of the game for a lot of these guys. All these things makes it very easy for a foreigner to take advantage of their weaknesses. Being a person who has a terrible knowledge of what I think is the Chinese language, it was a hit and miss when I wanted to play together with other people. If I was matched up with a guy who said okay mate all the time, then it was definitely a pleasure. If the only thing they said was go go go, and when they used sign language, then it was slightly more challenging because I had no clue what they wanted to do. I know that I still have to compare all the other servers, but based on my experience here, I will give them the stamp of easy servers. Your kills to deaths ratio will definitely be higher than normal if you're used to playing on American or European servers. Next week I will be playing PLAYERUNKNOWNS Battlegrounds from somewhere deep within Asia. Maybe we can find out if these guys are better or worse than the guys down under. By the way guys, the YouTube likes and shares are very helpful to me. If you think that this video is worthy, would you mind taking a moment to like this video and to share it with all your buddies. This was Fog of Gaming, thanks for watching and I will see you in Battlegrounds.